right, our next speaker is Kevin Weston. He's the staff heavy bridge maintenance engineer out of Arkansas DOT. Please help me welcome Kevin.
Thank you. Yeah, so to echo on that point, well, Arkansas has the best of both worlds where we get it at the top and at the water line, so we're dealing with both issues. All right, so yep, my name's Kevin Weston, and so I work for the Arkansas Department of Transportation. I've been there a little over 5 years, so I've been enjoying my time. So I want to tell a little story here. So when I first started, I think the first Southeast Bridge, I didn't get to go, but the next week heard stories from so Mike Stewart and Andy. They just came back and started talking about Louisiana has this bridge building crew, and they can do all this, and they have all these cranes, and if they can do that, we can do that. And so here I'm presenting today off of what we've been able to do just based on that idea. So a lot of good ideas come from this group, and so I'm going to share what we've done with that idea here in Arkansas, or back in Arkansas. So my presentation is titled Poor Bridge to Good Culvert in 30 Days or Less. I'm going to also talk a little bit about preserving certain structures, because when I first did this presentation, I was thinking just about focusing on culverts, but I wanted to add in some of the other work our bridge building crew is getting to do. So about this presentation, we're going to go into the background information on why we need an in-house crew, and talk about some of the funding, some of the issues we're up against. We're also going to walk through 2 workflows. So we're going to talk about using culverts, and we're also going to talk about using some other precast spans. And then we're going to get into outcome and lessons learned. I'm not the expert up here. We're learning as we go, but everything we're learning, we are applying and learning from. So hopefully y'all can gain something out of this. So I work in heavy bridge maintenance. You might wonder what that is. Well, next time we come to this presentation, our division might be called Bridge Operations. So in a nutshell, we are the centralized maintenance and inspection group for the entire state. So we work with the bridge inventory, we work with our heavy bridge maintenance crews, and we're also modeling deterioration based on the funding we get in. And so I'm going to talk about some of the funding here too. So let's look at some of the money side. So back in 2018, our programs division was using a replacement cost of $185 per square foot. So that was back in 2018. There's been a lot of things that happened since 2018. So we had COVID, inflation, all kinds of variables. Well, today we're now estimating a $500 $500 per square feet for a new bridge replacement. That's more than 2 times as much as it was just 5 years ago. So that's one of the things we face. And so look at our budget. So ARDOT as a whole gets $150 million allocated to bridge work for a given year. So when I see presentations from Georgia and Texas and Florida sometimes with more money, I'm a little jealous. Okay, so let's look at our inventory. So this year, when I was putting this presentation together, we have about 7,400 state-owned bridges. There are more bridges that are local, county, city-owned. So we have getting close to 13,000 bridges around the state. Some interesting statistics on these. Some precast channel beams, we have 190 of them around the state that fit a certain deterioration. So these are getting to the end of their life out of that group. Some of them actually don't even have shear reinforcing. So we had a standard detail back in the 60s and 70s, and that unfortunately didn't have shear reinforcing. And so a group of those are deteriorating faster too. All right, so out of those 7,400, we have 400 that are currently poor. They're in a poor classification on the MBI. And out of that group, 157 are less than 100 feet long. So key into that number. A big chunk of these are very short bridges. All right, so let's look at the deck area. So this year we got poor deck area at 3 million square feet deck area. And so back to our $500 per square feet, we're at a valued replacement cost of getting close to $2 billion. Now remember, we only have $150 million per year. So here's, we're getting into the growing need. All right, so we as an agency, and I'm sure it's a lot, it's similar amongst other agencies. There were a lot of bridges built in the 60s and 70s. And so I'm going to talk about that real quick. So here's our bridge condition by deck area for each of the decades. So right there in the 60s and 70s, we got a large proportion of the bridges that are fair, and they're starting to become poor. Okay, now with that data, like most agencies do, they take the funding that's coming in and they model it through a software. And so that's what we've done here with the updated replacement cost and even the additional funding coming in. So with the amount of money we have in our current bridge inventory, these are some of the trends we're seeing in the future. So we've had over the past few years a growing percentage of poor bridges, and it shows to keep growing even with the changes in funding. But we've done something good here. So we've taken that yellow line and we're bringing our green line up. So we're preserving our bridges. We're putting more money in the past 5-10 years based on this group. So we've been doing a lot of polymer overlays, hydros, paint, things to preserve, to keep our good bridges good and our fair bridges even get them back up to good. So we've been doing good there. We're just challenged with the poor right now. All right, so two options. So we just explained the big need. There's a big need in Arkansas for solutions, for I guess more economical solutions than your traditional replacements. So we got two things that we've started to do. First, we started with box culverts. So we're tearing out small bridges, and I'm going to show an example of them, and putting back a box culvert. And this box culvert will probably last 100 years or more, compared to the timber substructure with channel unit superstructure bridge that was there previously. We also have a channel beam replacement. So we got good substructure. Everything's good with the substructure. It's just those channel units, the superstructure that's kind of that's going poor, exposed rebar, you name it. So we got two options what we can do with an in-house crew. So let's go into the channel units. I don't skip ahead because you might not know what I'm talking about specifically, because I've heard many people call them different things. This is what I'm referring to as a channel unit. If you think of like a C, just a precast slab bridge, or I know there was a company, Choctaw, that made a lot of them, so some people call them Choctaw units. Channel units, Choctaw, precast slab spans, that's what I'm talking about. All right, so we need to have certain criteria to be able to just replace those superstructure units. So we obviously want to have good substructure. We don't want to have major issues. You want it to be concrete, for one. And you see right there, my second bullet point is no timber. You do not want timber. You don't want to do a lot of work on a timber bridge that we're going to have to replace, kind of like what Texas was talking about. You want to have certain configurations. You can only put back a certain superstructure, obviously, where you had an existing superstructure configuration. So we're talking 19-footers, 25-foot, and 31-foot spans. And we're doing these on lower ADT and secondary routes, because we obviously, looking at it, it's closed. We're not building a detour, right? So we're closing this for a certain amount of time, and I'm going to get into the time frame. But remember, the title of my presentation is 30 days or less, so it's not that long. This up to this current date, and over the course of last calendar year, we've done 6 of these. We have 3 scheduled for this year and 3 scheduled for 2024. And I just want to reiterate, this is with our in-house bridge building crew. So we are doing this with our own forces. So there's the channel unit. And so we do have standard drawings for these. I just wanted to throw that up there that precasters can just take and build. And this is actually at the precast plant we've been buying a lot of these from. So that's the form and tying the rebar to be poured. And this is kind of the process. So we're with a crane or with a traco or some sort of mechanism, we are removing the existing units. So we take off the existing units. Sometimes we're working on the caps if there's some spalls and exposed rebar or something, just making sure the substructure is going to be in good condition when we're left. And then we're taking a crane and just dropping these units in place. And so you can set a whole bridge in less than a day. I think the one picture we set in about 5 hours. So these things go down quick. The next day you grout them up, put your guardrail on them, and you're off to the races. All right, so our process for these channel unit replacements is first you got to identify a bridge. You got to have an existing bridge. We're not doing new locations with these. So we obviously are going to prepare and advertise for competitive bids, and then we're going to cast. So the casting process, depending on how busy the fabricator is 2 to 3 months. And then we're going to demo the bridge when everything's ready to go. We're not closing the bridge in advance. Some of these bridges are like posted for 333, 345 before we're actually doing the work on them. Low posting, so we're working on critical structures. We go out to the site, we're demoing the bridge in a week, sometimes less, and then we're going to set units in about a week and put up the guardrail and then reopen. So this process for these units, we can be in and out in under 2 weeks. So that's our 30 days or less. All right, on the other end of the spectrum, what I was talking about was culverts. So with the same crew, we're looking at bridges that can't just have superstructure replaced, and we're replacing the whole bridge with a culvert. So what we're doing is, and our criteria is our poor bridge less than 100 foot in length. We are looking here for timber substructure because we want to replace it, rip it out. Same thing, low ADT secondary routes. And then we've done 5 so far. 4 are planned for this year and 5 are planned for 2024. So this is our typical, on the bottom left, this is kind of our typical 19-foot bridge. That is, I don't know, it could be anywhere from 50 to 100 years old that have channel units up top, timber substructure. The thing needs to go. And so that's kind of pictures of our process. Some bridges take more to tear out than others. Some you can just kind of push on and they fall over and you wonder how it's still there. And I wonder too. Others, you're going to need some massive hammers. But there on the right-hand side, since this is a preservation conference, we preserved the abutment, and the hydraulics was able to size us a culvert that fit in between the abutment, so that was interesting. We covered it up, though. So that's our process. You're probably familiar with box culvert setting. So some more pictures of setting these boxes. You want to get the first one right, otherwise the whole line is out of place. We have learned that the hard way. So there you go, setting these side by side. And then there's an aerial photo from a drone. We're doing these on skew too. So I wanted to show this photo because this gives you a perspective. We're doing this with an in-house crew without buying additional right-of-way. So we're working within certain constraints. We're not changing ditch lines on either side. So we're working within the limits of our existing right-of-way quickly to get a new structure in place to carry the water. Here's some other photos of culverts we finished. And then I want to show this picture because it's our standard stormwater protection or stormwater runoff plan for these small culverts. So they're in the middle. If we have running water, we try to do these in the dry season because we can knock out a lot of them in the dry season, and then we don't even have to worry about environmental constraints because when it's dry, environmental people are happy with us, not digging in a active stream. But if there is water, we're pumping that around while we're working. And I threw this picture in there because we're using a couple of unique products. One that came out of this group. So on the bottom left are jet filters, and so we've had good success with using filters in our box culverts. And then the one on the right was interesting. I don't know what it is about in your DOT or your state or projects you work on, but we still have an outdated specification for a joint material that's an asphalt, like sticky type tar material. And what it's supposed to do is supposed to be a waterproofing agent, and it doesn't do good at all. So the precaster recommended us this product, this neoprene flexible product, and it's been absolutely great. So our process for this is, for one, again, we're going to identify the bridge, the existing bridge. We're going to do a full survey. So survey crew is going to go out and then hydraulic review and environmental review. So they're looking for endangered species and other things in the water body before we go and start tearing up the stream. So we're going to prepare and advertise precast, for precast companies to bid. 2 to 3 months is our time frame on the actual fabrication. Once we have the units in place, we're going to go out to the bridge and close it, demo the existing bridge, and then it's about a week, and then set units about another week, and then we can reopen the bridge. So now what we didn't do is do those wing walls and footers and aprons and stuff like that before we open traffic. We can do all that while traffic is running on the bridge, so that's been good. And then, of course, we're going to cast in place all that and seed, and then. So, results of that, I want to go pull this slide back up with some of the money. So we remember back in 2018, it cost us $185 to replace a full replacement of a bridge, and one of these small bridges be $185 per square foot. This year, remember, $500 per square foot. A couple things to note with a replacement in Arkansas. It's a 3 to 4 year time frame from concept to construction. So if we have a bridge go poor, get posted, have this critical finding, serious issue, it's almost impossible for us to wait that long. We got to do something. And so also after it lets to bid, we're talking about a year for construction a lot of the times. So with our culvert crew for doing culverts, and this cost is factoring in all of our crew time, all the equipment, the labor, the benefits, everything involved, it cost us $175 per square foot. And that's fantastic. So it's a 6 months or less time frame from concept to construction. Obviously, we can go a lot faster if we have certain units in stock, and so we're getting to a point where we're catching up. If we have units in stock, if a bridge gets posted or even closed by load rating, we can go out and tear out and possibly be able to do something immediately. And we're talking less than a month on time frame. And I didn't put it in here, but me and Andy were actually talking about it this morning. So those channel beam replacements for just doing the superstructure, that comes in about $120 per square foot, everything factored in. And then also one thing to note, that $500 back on this year, $500 per square foot, that's a new deck area. So with ASHTO regulations, Green Book, and everything using federal funds, you obviously can't come back with certain funding just the same width. For safety standards, you have to have certain shoulders and clear zones and all that stuff. And so you're obviously it's gonna be a lot more expensive than existing deck area. Okay, so some of the lessons we've learned. Be aware of the environment. Watch out and plan for weather. Like I said earlier, you can do a lot of these type of operations and quickly when it's dry. If it's wet, the water's going to slow us down. Expect for delays. So for fabrication, we have some plants that we have them busy. So expect some delays there. We're getting to the point where it's in our best interest, like I was just saying, to stock units if it's an option. So we're wanting to be able to buy these and have them, in our maintenance yards, ready to use. If a bridge goes poor, posted, we have a critical finding, something happened, we want to be able to run out there, tear out, and have a good condition bridge quickly. All right, and then also work with roadway requirements. So you check, we're checking clear zones. We're looking at crash studies and stuff like that, stuff that normally as structural engineers you don't normally worry about. All right, so going forward, some ideas that we're looking at. We're looking for other types of precast units. So precast has been good for these channel beams, what I'm calling channel beams, and also for these precast culverts. So we're also looking at slab spans. What I'm talking about is just like your traditional, it could be a 12-inch slab, 20-inch slab in any configuration, because remember back on the channel beams we were limited with 19, 25, and 30, 31 foot. If you can, spec out a slab or have precast slabs, you can fit any length up to a certain standard. We're looking into pre-stressed units, so I'm looking forward to the tour tomorrow. And then other quick designs that we can get out there and use. So we have one bridge building crew right now that's really been running for the past year and a half strong. Administration has been very happy with the cost and how effective we are. they're looking at giving us a second crew. And then also we're looking at driving piles for new substructure. There's a lot of use cases for being able to drive piles, and a contractor has been gracious to talk with us, and they're going to actually a local contractor do some training for us, so we're looking forward to that. And then also we're looking at longer spans and bigger cranes, so we don't want to just stop with the small stuff. It's eventually, after you do all the small bridges, you can look at doing some bigger ones. So I think we're up for the challenge. All right. Do we want to do some questions?
Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Hi. I saw you that you're still using steel rebar for your precast. Have you considered using like GFRP? They are stronger and less weight, and they don't corrode.
Yep.
The same price as steel rebar.
So that's a good question. So right now our specifications are for traditional rebar and some of the standard drawings we have. But that is a good question. With some of the state funding we use, we're not held to all the standards, so we can definitely explore options. And I'll probably talk with you later.
Can I comment? In Virginia, we have stainless steel requirement for those small structures. The problem we run into with the GFR type rebar is on one-off small bridges, they're all different shapes. The stirrup bars and all have to be manufactured separately. It drives the cost up. Right? You can't bend them. You can't just have it bent.
Yeah, basically, we manufacture all sort of stuff, and it's not that much higher. And also remember that code allows you to use steel rebar, bent steel rebar with them. So if you don't have it, then you can use that, or stainless steel. Either one.
Kevin, great presentation. Have you guys thought about doing precast steel and concrete slabs? Like in New Jersey, we did a lot of that with, you basically call them prefabricated superstructure units. So you get basically put a deck on top of a steel girders and you just pick them up and put them in place. Have you guys thought about that at all?
I think so. I've seen a couple vendors have some products out there. I think I know what you're talking about. There are multiple different solutions that we are considering. It also has to, right now what we've been targeting is well, for one, culverts, you can kind of do a culvert in any configuration, right? I mean, at a certain length, it gets uneconomical. And then two, right, what we've been targeting is the channel units in a certain configuration. But we are open to looking at other things. We are definitely looking into other solutions.
Well, thank you.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.